Welcome. Today's book is going to be The War on Normal People by Andrew Yang, who I understand had some political aspirations in the US. I don't know what they were. I'm in Canada, so I don't actually care. And the subtitle here is The Truth About America's Disappearing Jobs and Why Universal Basic Income is Our Future. So while this is an American book, I'm going to talk about why the last half felt rah-rah America. And I got less out of that than the beginning. I do think that a lot of the problems here apply to Canada, apply to other North American, developed nations, and why I think we see some of the results of this written in 2018, actually really written in 2016, 17, but now it's 2020, and seeing some of the results that he predicts in here about social upheaval coming to pass. That's it. If you want to support the channel, keep books coming before we get going, you can go to patreon.com/CurtisMcHale, support the channel, or you can go to curtismchale.ca/Skillshare, where you can take my current course on TickTick, watch my upcoming course on time blocking, and watch my upcoming course on getting the most out of Things 3. Buckle up, War on Normal People by Andrew Yang. And now, according to Yang, the big issue that we're seeing in society currently is that there's a lack of financial mobility for people. We talked about this in Man's Search for Meaning a little bit, where people were told to run a race towards success. They would get, the quote unquote American dream. They got there and the race was changed. Like the jobs that they were supposed to be able to get don't exist. The race is now farther. The goalpost got moved so much farther away as to I can't even do it. And that creates a lot of social ills and social unrest too, which is something Andrew Yang talks about. I talked a bunch about white supremacist groups and incel groups and why they may feel justified in their behavior because of things like this, because the goal had been moved so far. They said, I just have no prospects now. And not that I condone, right? I do not condone anything they do. But I can see how you jump from there into a scarcity mindset and then into guarding that small piece of the pie that you think you get. We also talked about in Rest by Alex Sujong Kim Pang. Rest or Shorter? I don't remember which one at the moment. But how and he says this here, since the 1970s, GDP stopped tracking against income. And so GDP just went whoosh and income just kind of stayed stagnant, right? And Alex Sujong Kim Pang says in his books that, I think it's in Shorter actually, that the more and more we're seeing the benefits of worker productivity accrue to owners, to the bosses, and less to the actual people producing the productivity. So those ideas are really aligned out of those two books. In The Second Mountain by David Brooks, we also talked about, you have your first mountain, which is basic financial stability, and kind of living for yourself, and your second mountain, which is living for something else, someone else, some other organization, some other person, could be your kids, could be a charity, could be something else that's for you. And coming through Andrew Yang's book, The War on Normal People, looking at it, that if you can never hit that first mountain of stability, you can never start thinking about the second one. And so that some of these reactions are really people saying, hey, I can't hit that mountain anymore. So I'm going to fight for it, for recognition that I should be able to hit it. Now, one of the big things we've seen currently is that the this spread between GDP and earnings has left it so that, according to Andrew Yang, 59% of Americans can't afford $500 in expense. I know we were talking with my father-in-law recently and knowing that, through COVID, through issues here, that a bunch of our friends couldn't afford to, go without a paycheck for a month. We were lucky in that we could. We could go for numerous months without a paycheck, but most people can't. And we'll come to this again later, but Andrew Yang says that it's not like people saying, oh, you don't have enough money. You just made bad decisions. But it's like having a big suitcase if you're rich and you chose not to take the sixth pair of socks and have a little suitcase where you're like, I can't even fit any socks. So people saying, hey, how come you don't have socks? It's because I literally cannot fit them because I have such a small suitcase. My shovel for, getting out of debt, anything else is so small. Actually, an interesting study, which I'll link in the show notes, just recently out of Vancouver, where they gave, it's a small population, but they gave this $7,500 to homeless people. And basically at the end of the year, they pretty much did way better. That's the end of it. They had more money. They were less likely to be on substances. They found stable housing. One of the poignant line in this, I think, might be in some other reading I've done recently around this topic, but is that turns out the cure for poverty is money and the cure for homelessness is a home. And that study, and Andrew Yang cites so many other studies in this that say basically, if you give a basic income, you give this, this helping hand to everyone, that the benefits so far outweigh the very few people that abuse it that it's not even worth thinking about them. That at the end of anyone, he cites maybe 10 studies in here throughout this book, and in Canada, in the US, like kind of all over the world, that basically say like the people that get a basic income, and it varies depending on what it is, $1,000, $2,000, $500. Like those people have more money. They're less likely to be drinking heavily. They are spending less time on what's called inferior good. So an inferior good is honestly video games. Poor people are more likely to watch TV and play video games than rich people. Something that and unlike many other things, the more money you have, the more time you spend doing something. This is like the opposite to that. So they're less likely to be participating in inferior good activities or purchasing things that are inferior good, and they're just better off all around. And that the very few people that abuse it are so far outweighed by everybody else that we should not even bother thinking about them. The first half talked a lot about the problems, which I've highlighted here. And the second half was all about the solution, which Andrew Yang says is universal basic income. It was a replace in the American setup that he kind of talks about kind of all other forms of subsidy. Like you just get, I think he said $2,000 a month. That's it. You just get it, no matter where you were. And he'd finance it through a consumption tax, value-added tax, VAT tax. Now, this is kind of where I also thought like, oh, come on, man. Because it was all like, it's Freedom Bucks, it's Raw America stuff. Like it's all like these names that are like raw America. I guess I get it since you had political aspirations and you want to be able to like talk about them and like raw yourself up. But boy, it was tough to read through parts of it. Because it's like, great America. Like, okay, great. I don't live there, and Freedom Bucks and whatever, Eagle dollars and all this other, like, okay, sure, fine. Now, my final question as always is, should you read The War on Normal People by Andrew Yang? Let's grab a quote before I dive into that, like I often do. This is out of Location 67 in your Kindle. It says, the relationship between humanity and work involves money, but in something of a negative correlation. The jobs and roles that are the most human and would naturally be the most attractive tend to pay nothing or close to nothing. Mother, father, artist, writer, musician, coach, teacher, storyteller, nurturer, counselor, dancer, poet, philosopher, journalist. These roles are either unpaid or pay so little that it is difficult to survive or thrive in many environments. Many of these roles have high social impacts that are ignored by the market. When I read through that, it got me thinking of Invisible Women, which we've looked at, and how a lot of those roles are actually roles for women. Women have typically occupied, right? Nurturer, counselor, right? Even like elder care. A lot of them are roles that females have taken more often, right? Now there may be, artist is in there. There's a lot of like well-recognized male artists, but there's also a lot of female artists, and they get even downgraded because they're women. It's interesting. Probably sad is the right word, that a lot of those things are seen as traditionally women roles and they're unvalued in society. Because I know here I think we do an equitable split of childcare and stuff. You'd have to talk to my wife for sure. But part of that is absolutely because she leaves every day at like 2:00 to go work, and I take the kids after 2:00, and so I do all the dinners. I've done the laundry forever. So laundry's always just been my job. My wife doesn't do a great job with that. She does many other things wonderfully, but that's not her thing. But like, is that only because I've been forced into it because of how our life works? Because I've worked at home for so long and there's things that I can take care of, like dinner, like the kids, like stuff like that. Or is it because I'm good? Because I'm doing better than many other men? I don't know. I suppose, if I'm honest, I'd probably have to say partially it's because of our life. And it's probably less as a result of me being excellent. That's what I got. Should you read the book? I think that outside of the second half being Raw America, I'd say, yeah, it's a good book. It's a good, I feel like I have a better understanding of universal basic income. After reading this book, I've got a few other books coming up on my shelf already around basic income. I have one on Kindle called Basic Income for Canadians, because it was like $180, $100 and something dollars in soft cover to buy it, or like $28 on Kindle. And I got a Kindle copy. And I got another one, Basic Income, up there as well. So I think I'm going to go, like, this would just be another longer term reading idea, research topic, as I have many of them. But I think you should read it. It was a good book. If the Raw America stuff gets a little tired at the end. But other than that, I enjoyed the book. Good writing. So now, standard YouTube ending. If you like the video, thumbs up. I suppose you could smash that like button, but that sounds lame to me. You can also hit the subscribe and then hit the bell, because possibly the YouTube algorithm might let you know if a video comes. But it's an algorithm, so who actually knows if YouTube's going to do that? 2 ways to support the channel directly are, number 1, go to patreon.com/Curtis McHale, support the channel. Number 2 is to go to curtismchale.ca/Skillshare, where you can take my course on TickTick right now, and you can also watch my upcoming course on time blocking, watch my upcoming course on, I don't have a title for it, but it's on Things 3. Have an excellent day.